This week, older homeowners may feel more wealthy than ever before on paper, but in real terms, they're likely falling behind. Today, we'll examine the phenomena of equity erosion, what it is, why it's happening, and one way that older homeowners may be able to avoid it, even if home values fall. We'll have more right after this short message from our sponsor, Liberty Reverse.
Liberty Reverse wants to help you grow your reverse mortgage business with our proprietary Equity IQ product suite. Equity IQ gives your borrowers access to more funds, lowers their upfront costs, and expands eligibility for home purchases. Learn more at partners.libertyreversemortgage.com today. This ad is intended for mortgage professionals only and is not a consumer solicitation. PHH Mortgage, doing business as Liberty Reverse Mortgage, is an equal housing lender. NMLS number 2726.
Thank you for joining us today. Homeowners are facing the risk of equity erosion. What is equity erosion, you may be asking? To best understand, let's begin by defining the difference between nominal home values and real home values. A home's nominal value is merely on paper. For example, an appraised value or the listing price before a sale. However, a home's real value is determined by what that home can buy or its purchasing power in real dollars after inflation. Historically, home ownership has served as a very reliable hedge against inflation, but not always and not lately in many markets. Following a massive run-up in home prices in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, where we saw median home prices surge by an average of 46%, we're now seeing significant price declines in many metros, all while prices for everything else, groceries, insurance, utilities, services, all continue to climb. For homeowners, especially those that are retirees on a fixed income, that mismatch matters, especially if inflation does outpace home appreciation. But before we continue, I want to thank each of you for liking and sharing these videos. It really does help our channel. Also, if you consider subscribing, that way you never miss any of our latest content. And subscribe to HeckhamWorld.com, where you'll find all the latest reverse mortgage commentary, news, and analysis. So here's one hypothetical example to illustrate the growth of home prices and inflation from 2015 to 2025. Let's say we have a Florida couple in their early 50s who bought a home in 2015 for $250,000. According to Case-Shiller, homes appreciated nationally at an average annual rate of 6.5% over those last 10 years, even after you account for the post-pandemic run-up in home prices. Now, if we use the annualized rate of 6.5% appreciation, their home would be worth $469,000 in 2025. Their nominal price just jumped 88%, which lines up with the national trend of 80 to 90% cumulative appreciation in the last decade. However, at the same time, the dollar lost 37% of its purchasing power thanks to inflation. That means the inflation-adjusted value of their home is really $342,800. While their home value did increase by 88%, nearly 40% of that can be attributed to inflation alone. Yes, on paper, their home equity grew by $220,000 during that time. However, when you do account for inflation, they only actually netted $126,000. Now let's say that same couple, now in their mid-60s, has nearly paid off their mortgage, and they find themselves coming up a little bit short on their monthly cash flow in retirement. So they considered tapping into their equity with a cash-out refinance, but they decided against it, knowing that a higher monthly payment would only worsen their situation. They also investigated getting a reverse mortgage, but they didn't feel they were quite desperate enough to need one at that time. Instead, they determined to sit and wait, believing that they were sitting on a mountain of equity. But were they? Unfortunately not. By 2027, home values in their city have plummeted by 30%. Their home's previous nominal value of $469,000 is just $329,000, and that's less than the inflation-adjusted price that should have grown to $365,000. That means the meager equity that they have left has been outstripped by inflation. A recent post from Realtor.com notes that this isn't the first time that this has happened. In 1980, for example, home prices rose 6% year over year, but inflation came in at 13.5%, wiping out real gains for many. The good news for this couple is that all hope is not lost. Having avoided repeatedly refinancing their home and Having only a modest mortgage balance, they do still qualify for a reverse mortgage. But now they realize that their false sense of security actually cost them access to almost $100,000 in equity that they could have tapped into or secured in 2025. With this in mind, there are 3 ways that a reverse mortgage can help protect against equity erosion. Perhaps a point that you can discuss with potential borrowers. First is that homeowners can secure access to their home's present value, and that's not a bad idea considering how many markets still have record level home prices. A HECM reverse mortgage, like any other mortgage loan, is based on the value of the home when it's appraised. Now, once that loan is funded, their available loan proceeds cannot be reduced if home values fall. Now, this in effect allows a HECM borrower to lock in their equity. Second, a HECM line of credit is not only based on today's value, but the unused portion of that credit line is going to increase based on the rate of the loan's monthly interest and the 0.5% FHA mortgage insurance premium. The third protection is found in the home equity conversion mortgage's non-recourse protection. When the loan ultimately does become due and payable, typically when the borrower sells, moves, or passes away, the repayment is limited to the home's value. Now, if they lived through a long period of equity erosion, they or their heirs are not on the hook for the shortfall. If equity erosion is the tide that's slowly pulling out purchasing power out to sea, a reverse mortgage, properly structured and prudently used, may act like a seawall. It locks in access at today's value, provides a credit line that will grow, and it also caps the downside if prices do slip considerably. In a world where inflation has become increasingly entrenched, homeowners should be considering how they might be able to protect themselves against equity erosion or a loss of equity. Now, what are your thoughts? Have you ever discussed the impact of inflation with older homeowners? Let us know in the comment section below. And if you'd be so kind as to share this video on your LinkedIn network, thank you so much for those of you that do that each and every week. As we mentioned earlier, we have a YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe. And each and every week, we also bring you the most recent reverse mortgage news that we curate in our weekly podcast, HECM World Weekly. We have both a video and audio edition. And for those of you that are listeners, you can subscribe and listen on Apple Music and Spotify. Thanks so much for joining us, and be sure to return next week for more reverse mortgage news, commentary, and analysis you'll only find here at HECM World. Have a great week.